Picture this, all right? You're 26 years old. You've just stepped off a bus in what feels like the absolute middle of nowhere. The only sound is the wind just kind of howling through this massive, impenetrable green hedge. This is Marsh Farm in Norfolk. It's isolated, it's utterly silent, and now it's yours. You've just inherited this massive estate from an estranged aunt you barely even knew. And there's no welcome party waiting for you, no letter of explanation sitting on the kitchen table, just a key, a pair of muddy boots, and this endless, eerie sea of purple. In today's Explainer, we're going to unravel the deeply captivating mystery of the keeper of lavender fields and figure out exactly what Ivy really inherited.
So the entire farm is dedicated to one single thing: lavender. You've got 22 perfectly cultivated rows covering acres and acres of land. It's a massive, humming agricultural machine that's been running smoothly for 4 decades. But tucked right in the dead center of this vast estate, there's an anomaly. One single row, just sitting there. It's been deliberately left untouched, completely unharvested, and totally ignored by the farm's strict production schedule for 40 long years.
Now, the question that immediately haunts Ivy, and probably you too, is simple. Why? I mean, on a working farm where literally every square inch of dirt is meant to turn a profit, why was row 17 never harvested? That question is the entire driving force of our Explainer today. We're going to follow the breadcrumbs Ivy's deceased aunt left behind and step right into a mystery that challenges everything we think we know about productivity, value, and deeply buried secrets.
The sheer physical contrast out in the fields is just unsettling. Take row 19, which is a standard production row. It's exactly what you'd expect, right? Pale purple, a sweet, clean lavender scent, literally vibrating with thousands of bees. But then you look at row 17, and it is completely different. The color isn't pale, it's this deep, bruised violet. The scent is earthy, almost heavy and resinous. And honestly, the most chilling part? It's eerily quiet. The bees actively avoid it. And the little wooden label stake hammered in at the end of the row? Completely blank. As you can imagine, Ivy can't just let this go. Over her first few days on the farm, she totally transforms from an overwhelmed heir into a remarkably determined investigator. From discovering that eerie blank label on day 1 to staying up late tearing through 40 years of harvest records on day 2 to physically pacing out the farm's exact geography, her methodical search eventually leads her to a hidden discovery that breaks the whole case wide open on day 5. Her first real clue is tucked away in the very oldest of her aunt's harvest logs. Among these incredibly detailed columns of yields and dates, row 17 actually appears on a hand-drawn map, but in the actual data, nothing. Year after year skipped entirely. That is, until she finds this hauntingly vague description written in her aunt's hurried handwriting. It just says, the remembrance row, not harvested. What exactly is it remembering? Or maybe the better question is who?
To understand just how baffling this whole thing is, you kind of have to understand the farm's true purpose. Distillation is grueling, incredibly hot, physical labor. You have to cut the stems cleanly, load these massive, heavy bundles into a heated copper still chamber, and then extract the essential oil via steam. A farmer's entire livelihood depends on extracting every single drop of value from the earth. So intentionally wasting prime agricultural space on a plant you categorically refuse to cut, to a commercial farmer that literally borders on madness. But the deeper Ivy digs, the weirder the data gets. Her aunt was absolutely obsessive about recording oil quality. Next to row 19, which happens to sit right next to our mystery row, her aunt writes, "The most complex oil consistently. I do not know why. I have stopped trying to know why and simply accepted it." And yet row 17 is missing entirely from all records. There is this strange, unexplained correlation between the farm's celebrated champion row and the ghost row sitting right beside it. So this presents a psychological puzzle that really hooks you. If a farm's sole purpose is production, why cultivate a plant to produce absolutely nothing? Her aunt dedicated her entire life to this land, yet she spent 40 years carefully, painstakingly growing a row that yielded zero financial return. What in the world was she hiding in that soil? Well, on day 5, Ivy finally finds her answer out in the dim, suffocatingly scented distillation shed. While she's examining the heavy copper still, she notices this hidden shelf. It's set deep into a recess in the stone wall. Honestly, a place you would only ever find if you knew exactly where to look. And sitting right there in the shadows of that shelf, a single, half-empty dark glass bottle.
She pulls it out into the light, and there, written in her aunt's unmistakable handwriting, is a label that looks completely different from the commercial batches. It's just 2 cryptic words: for remembering. Ivy has found the secret oil. This is the distillation of row 17, the one single batch her aunt ever made and then deliberately hid away.
When Ivy finally pulls the cork on that bottle, this sensory experience is almost supernatural. The scent profile is incredibly intense. It's a concentrated, dark lavender, earthy, and remarkably deep. But when she breathes it in, it completely bypasses her logical thought. It doesn't trigger a specific visual memory, but rather this profound, heavy feeling of immense childhood safety. It's an unplaceable, absolute warmth.
What Ivy is experiencing right there is a phenomenon known as atmospheric memory. Basically, it's that lingering feeling or quality of a past event that sticks around long after the specific images, times, or details have faded into obscurity. The scent of row 17 acts as a psychological skeleton key. It wraps her in the sheer atmosphere of a forgotten, comforting time. Her aunt hadn't just bottled oil, you see. She had literally distilled memory itself.
But that still leaves a huge question. Where did these miraculous plants actually come from? Pivoting her investigation back to the main house, Ivy uncovers the next major clue in the study. Slipped quietly between the pages of an old botanical classification book, she finds a sealed yellowing envelope. On the back, there's just one word written: later.
Inside that envelope is a fragile, ancient-looking letter. It's from a friend, signed only with the first name and a sketch of a short flower spike, right above the word love. The letter reveals that the 26 plants making up row 17 were actually grown from old cuttings taken from a grandmother's garden and another grandmother's garden before that. The true original history of the plant is completely lost to time. Row 17 is an ancient, nameless survivor that's just been carried across generations. The letter also contains this incredibly powerful, haunting instruction to Ivy's aunt. There is no need to do anything with it except let it grow. It is enough to grow. That single line fundamentally challenges the relentless productivity of the farm, and honestly of modern life itself. It didn't need to be harvested. Its sheer existence was its entire purpose. Seeking some kind of confirmation, Ivy goes to speak to Ellen, the 75-year-old local harvester who's been around forever. Ellen knows the row is sacred. She acknowledges it came from far away and was never cut. But when Ivy presses her for more details, Ellen simply shakes her head and says, "The rest is hers." It becomes abundantly clear that some local secrets are deeply respected and simply never meant to be shared with outsiders. The caretaker's silence only amplifies the quiet, unyielding power of that road. The climactic twist of our explainer comes from the very last entry in the aunt's final notebook, written shortly before her death. After 40 years of wondering why the oil in the adjacent row 19 was so incredibly complex, she finally realized the truth. She wrote, "Some things work because of what is beside them." Let's pull all these final puzzle pieces together, all right? The true purpose of row 17 wasn't to be harvested. It was meant to simply be. By growing right beside row 19 for 40 years, the deep, ancient atmospheric memory of row 17 bled into the soil, the air, and the entire local ecosystem. Its sheer presence elevated everything around it, secretly making the ordinary completely extraordinary. And so Ivy's legacy is now secured. On day 6, she makes a solemn vow to the caretaker that she will never ever harvest row 17. By day 10, she completes her very first successful distillation of the standard lavender, fully taking her rightful place on the farm. Ivy decides to stay. She will keep those notebooks alive, honoring the legacy of the unknown by leaving the mystery of the remembrance row beautifully intact. It's such an incredible look at how something can have immense value simply by existing beside us. So I leave this question to you. What atmospheric memory would an unharvested, ancient row of lavender bring back for you? What hidden childhood feeling would it unlock? Let's get a discussion going in the comments below. Share your own theories and memories. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Until next time, keep exploring the mysteries hidden just beneath the surface.